Hello, everybody. I am Tish Hicks. I am the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo in Los Angeles, California, Burbank to be specific. This is the Ask the Sensei call. It is a free monthly webinar, question and answer webinar that we do the first Wednesday of every month. It's me and our esteemed techno sensei, Dan Lenard, the home studio master. We are always here answering your questions the first Wednesday of every month. And each month we ask one of our esteemed colleagues to join us and share their experiences and their insights. And today I am so excited to have my dear friend Ben Davis. We've known each other for 100 years, join us. So that's the sort of what we're doing today. For those of you who haven't been on a Zoom call, really all you guys need to know is the poll. Put where you are and calling from in the chat, and if you want to talk amongst yourselves. All right, look at someone. Elise is calling from Australia. It's 3 a.m. Dude. That's devotion, rock and roll. That is, so put where you're calling from in the chat and then your questions in the question and answer. So I guess I'm a little excited. VO Dojo is a full training center based here in LA. Let's see. I already said all this. What am I doing? Okay, let's get this started. I'm Tish. This is Dan. Dan, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yes, I'm Dan Lenard, and my desk is now going up and down here. But I am a voice actor and an expert on home voiceover studio construction, creation, and all that sort of stuff. I teach people how to record properly at home and dispel all of the mishigosh that is out there on the internet about how you don't do it.
Excellent. Yes, and Dan is a part of the dojo, and we love him. And this, my friends, is my dear old friend Ben Davis. We know each other from doing theater in Los Angeles yonks ago, and it has just been the most thrilling thing to see his talent and spirit and passion going from the I'm getting all nostalgic here, going from the age-old format of theater to the way things are moving and the way storytelling is moving into the future as the star of Red Dead Redemption 2. So, Ben, tell us about yourself, my friends.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me. It's so great to see you. And Dan, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me. I guess about myself, when Tish and I met 150 years ago, I had just moved to LA after doing pretty much the back half of the 90s doing downtown off-Broadway theater in New York. And I came to LA and met you doing theater in LA, which was the last thing I expected to have happen when I came to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I have been clawing my way through the industry ever since, and have done a lot of on-camera work and a little bit of voice work. I got to do a book on tape a long time ago called Spoon River Anthology, but I've always been sort of one of those people that have been told you've got the right voice for voice work. But I haven't ever booked a major campaign or anything of that nature. And then my association with Rockstar was sort of slowly. I did minor assets in a game called Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, which was strictly voiceover work. And then I booked Red Dead, the first one. And that was my first foray into performance match. Are you hearing the same audio thing that I'm hearing?
It's a little funky, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way we can fix that?
I don't know. Let's ask our audio guy.
Yeah, try headphones. See if that helps.
I was just thinking about that. I'm going to put these stupid.
Hold on 1 second. Hold for technical.
Now you have to change your audio input to those headphones.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go. Okay, much better.
Still there a little bit.
It is still there a little bit. All right. Well, this is better.
It sounds better. Yeah.
Okay. And that was, so the first Red Dead was my first time doing any performance capture at all. And that, what distinguishes performance capture from strict motion capture or strict voiceover, it is still there. Is there something we should do about this? Because if you're hearing it as much as I am.
Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Let's see here. You might want to try headphones too. Somebody is feeding back somewhere.
Okay, let me.
Not me, because I muted my mic.
Okay, and I don't have a mic.
It's you. It's you in the sunset.
Okay, this will be interesting.
Okay.
If you got headphones, try headphones, Tish.
Okay, let me see how to do that. I will work on that. You keep on talking, Ben.
All right, I'm gonna vamp because I come from the theater. I know how to vamp. But performance capture, what distinguishes it, it's how we did the first Red Dead, and it's how we did all of the work for nearly 5 years on Red Dead 2. Is it's you're in full body motion capture with this helmet on your head that's got a camera on your face. You've got a microphone on top of the helmet. And you're performing the scenes as you would as Tish and I had back in the day when we were doing theater in LA, and even before that, it was like it's performance capture is quite a bit like, for anybody who's done conservatory training, it's a lot like being in a black box theater, a very expensive and well furnished and extraordinarily well staffed and populated black box theater, but you are, for all intents and purposes, working on sets throughout all of this work, and you're working directly with the other actors. And the only thing that you don't have is the vast world that the amazing folks at Rockstar are building all around you all the time. But I guess that's sort of me in a nutshell. Red Dead's been very exciting, and my career is also continuing to grow, hopefully, in on-camera work. In the past 3 years, I've done, I did a movie James Gunn wrote called The Belko Experiment that horror fans might be familiar with, and I got to play around in the Marvel Universe this summer in Ant-Man and the Wasp. But that's my bio.
Okay, awesome. So did my going to headphones help anybody?
It did.
Okay. Okay, cool. Sorry to be the cause of problems. Jason Vanderbrake, as I live and breathe. All right. Cool. Excellent. And it was awesome to connect with Ben because I know the guys at Rockstar because I did the gameplay video for GTA 5, and I actually recorded the gameplay video for Red Dead Redemption 2, but then they decided they didn't want the voice from GTA 5 on Red Dead Redemption 2. So, but we were able to talk to everybody there and make sure everything was cool for Ben to be here. Excellent. Well, let's start answering some questions, guys. If you're just coming on, please answer the poll and let us know where you're calling from in the chat, or if you have anything to say, like fix the sound. Very good. Oh, Christy's actually still having problems. Maybe I can. Okay. Right. Keep on letting us know, and Dan, if you can keep monitoring that situation.
Yep.
Scotty. All right. Well, here's a good question from Ashley. Who amongst your fellow co-stars did you most enjoy working with, or did you work with your fellow co-stars? That's I guess a first question, hey?
There is no. Yeah, we worked together. I mean, the paradigm is much, and it is. It's interesting because they're becoming aware with the use of the term voice actor as a sort of a catch-all for the work that's going on in the video game industry. I think is making for some confusion about the nature of the work, because at least in layman's terms, when you think about voice actor, you're imagining that we're working off a script at a microphone in a booth, doing just our side of the scene. And then that's going to be recorded. The other actor's going to come in when their schedule allows and do the same thing. The work that we did for Red Dead in particular was quite different in that we would have our scripts. We would be memorizing them furiously. I mean, it was much more like going out to do a play every time I go to do a shoot than it was like anything else. And so, yes, we all worked together and for a very long time. All of us in, skin tight, motion capture suits, which are not the most. You get to know everybody pretty much. You're covered with dots and everything.
And how long was the process? How long was the process, Ben?
I was on it. I think Roger Clark was on it, who plays Arthur Morgan. He was on it, I think, as long as anybody. Maybe Peter Bloomquist was on before him, but he was for, I think, a full 5 years. I was quite nearly 5 years. I got my first script pages I got, I think, in December of 13. So it
wow. Wow. And how often in those 5 years were you working?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say precisely, but I
generally, like every single day. You didn't get off Christmas. I
wish it was every single day. It was. We would be there'd be shoots. So you'd have, typically the longest I'd be working would be 3 solid weeks. So 15 days at a time. And sometimes that would be nearly monthly. And then sometimes it'd be long length. So it was an extraordinary experience, but it was disruptive to the rest of my first world problem. But
and you couldn't tell anybody what you were doing. Where's Ben?
that made things quite complicated, particularly because Dutch had so many speeches, and I didn't really have the ability to call a buddy over and say, "Would you run lines with me?" I had to.
Oh, right.
Inside the non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, yeah.
But so I guess to answer Ashley's question, which I didn't really do, I enjoyed tremendously everybody. I mean, I wouldn't want to single it out. I got to know Roger Clark extremely well, but I also, Curzon Dobell, who plays Hosea, was an ally. I've known Rob Weedoff for 25 years. I love seeing him every time I get to. It was an embarrassment of riches being a part of that ensemble.
Yeah, excellent. So technically, Ben, we're still having a little issue.
Yeah, you might want to go back to the microphone you were using before.
Oh, yeah? I'd be happy to.
I figured you would be.
Especially though, aren't they? Okay, so these are, let's see if they do this.
Sounds it's a little tinny now.
Hold on, he just needs to change his input.
Oh, okay. No.
Okay.
Now you can.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. Hey.
I can hear you.
Awesome. It's a Christmas miracle. All right.
Oh.
It looks like you have a little crown on your head too. That's cute.
Oh.
Okay. Awesome.
That's fine.
Yeah. Great. Well, hopefully that's both Ben's experience, and then a little insight into the process too, which I think is profound and fascinating. Great. Let's see. I'm not sure how you say your name. Is it Ipek or IPEC? But you're calling from Turkey, which is so freaking cool. Ipek. Excellent. Asks, any books and or music that helped Ben prepare for the role, and what kind of music and books does he enjoy personally? Oh.
Well,
your desert island. Desert island.
Well, I know Ipek. I hope I'm saying it right. I know from social media.
Ipek, awesome.
So nice to be able to talk to you directly and to answer the question. Any books and or music that help me prepare for the role? I couldn't say that there were books or music. Most of what I would do during downtimes to sort of stay on model with the character voice and sort of with the entire milieu of the piece was I watched a lot of movies, a lot of Westerns in particular, just to sort of stay in the mood. My favorite remains John Ford's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which I would watch over and over again. And the kind of music and books that I enjoyed personally, well, my favorite book is probably War and Peace, and the book that I'm reading right now, I just started, is Susan Orlean's library book, which is
cool.
Library, and that's very cool. Cool. But I think that's it. I don't often use music I know a lot of actors who do, but I don't often use music in preparation for performance because, and this may sound pretentious, but I guess we're all here talking about our process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the things that we do is attenuate ourselves to the poetry in the work that we're doing, and attenuate ourselves to the musicality of the words we have in front of us. And I think that music, however useful it can be to arrive at an emotional state, I think can interrupt your connection to the material.
Whoa, that's like we need to do a whole webinar on that. That's fantastic. This is why he's a brilliant genius, guys. Wow. Very, very good answer. Wow. Okay.
Keeping score? Do I get a final grade?
Yeah. It's like, that was good, Ben. Thank you. This other one, yeah. Awesome. Well, let's keep on going. But I think that it's so exciting to be here with you across these mediums, because I think the real thing about voiceover, and now as we're talking about moving into this new realm, guys, this performance capture, motion capture, and it really is motion capture and voiceover that is performance capture, and more all of us need to be doing it. And it's not just the SWAT team guys, it's not just the ninja girls, it's everybody, because this is how the stories are being told. So and then how do we adjust from each medium, right? From one medium to another, and how do we become fluid amongst them all? Because God knows everybody's got to be able to do everything these days.
But I think, if I may, I think that it is, there are forever going to be elements of form that govern how you work with a microphone versus how you work with a camera versus how you work with a video. And I think that there is value in us all as a community of storytellers to consider that parsing what the actor does is not necessarily where the future is headed. All of this technology, all of this, every bit of genius that goes into this infrastructure that Rockstar has is in service in one way, shape, or form of what the actor does. And it's really quite amazing, because when you and I were doing, we did one of the highlights, frankly, of my whole career was doing Master Margarita. And the tragedy of it is you can't really videotape theater. Certainly in 2000, you couldn't.
Right.
But even now, if you videotape theater, you sort of take the soul out of the thing. And so the heartbreak of theater is that it disappears. That's really why film is so much more enticing to me, is because it doesn't, I mean, for good or bad, it doesn't go away. But in performance capture, you have this sort of this immediacy of the connection that you get when you're working live.
Yeah. Ooh, but it's kept forever.
And it doesn't go anywhere. And so if you think there's an opening scene in Red Dead 2, which is this scene that we did probably about halfway through the process. So halfway through the process, the ensemble was starting to understand who everybody was, where they fit into the story, and all of these things. And there is this scene where people that have played it will know it immediately. It's the beginning, I believe, of chapter 1. It's the very beginning, and Curzon Dobell, playing Hosea Matthews, goes through this door with a lantern and checks that it's safe, and then the entire gang comes in behind him, and Davey, who's just a character that has just passed away, is put on a table. There's coins put on his eyes. Dutch gives a big speech, and Arthur and Dutch decide they're going to go back out into the wilderness to find Micah. And that's the opening scene. There, I think, are 15 actors in that scene. And that's one scene. That's one take. That whole thing.
Wow.
You couldn't do it on camera. You couldn't do it on a film set, because you need to get the camera to go all over the place. You'd have to have wild walls. It would take a week to do that scene in any other way. And you also do it on stage, because the eye lines don't match up for where any audience is. So you have this scene that has got this extraordinary immediacy, and it's entirely because of the technology that is.
Oh my God! This is
all in service of what we do, of what you're teaching a young actor to do. You know, their first week of conservatory.
Yeah. And it all ties together, I think, too, because as voice actors, we're in the booth and there's nothing there. I mean, like you're in the volume and there's nothing. It's like you're on a rehearsal set with apple boxes and sticks for guns and stuff. It's just let's pretend. Let's say. Oh my God, this is. Oh, we need a whole nother episode of this. We might need to Ask the Sensei too with Ben Davis. This is awesome. Cool. Well, let's keep on going down. I'm going to slaughter names, but Takia, maybe? Well, bless you, asks, as I start voiceover career, looking for coaches, good idea to speak to students. Yes, absolutely. If you're stepping into any relationship with anyone who's going to guide your soul, absolutely. Find out as much about as you would, a lover. Like, what do you know about this guy or girl? But mostly in the same way, who resonates with you? What are you interested? Who sparks you? Who do you feel safe with? And trust yourself. But it's always good to ask people who have had experiences to share their experiences. Yeah, so I would just say that, and we'll go on. Oh, Dan, what microphone are you rocking today?
I'm glad that you asked that. This is not any ordinary looking microphone. It's made from an ordinary looking microphone. This was actually a microphone that I built. This is was originally an MXL 2001. And if you're familiar with that, it's like, a $70 studio condenser mic. But there's a great company associated with Roswell mics called micparts.com that creates kits that you can retrofit into old microphones. And
so you've pimped your ride with your mic?
Oh, this isn't pimped. This is just a mere shell for containing what was put into it. But they provide really good instructions and all of the components that you have to solder in properly, and a new diaphragm, a new element, which is actually the similar element to a U87, a Neumann U87, and you solder it together and you plug it in and you go, holy crap, it works. It's that's what it is. And if it sounds
awesome.
fabulous, that's why. It's one of the mics that I will use on occasion. There are, some people say there are certain mics for certain things. I believe that you can use any mic at any time for anything as long as it's not a crappy mic. But this is micparts.com. Check it out if you're good at soldering.
Excellent. And there you go. Good. Excellent. Terrific. Oh, here's an interesting maybe segue. With rapidly changing technology, how did the video game creation well, it's kind of a longer story, but I think we kind of hit on that. I'm sorry, I'll finish the question. How did the video game creation process differ over the years?
I think that's actually pretty easy, Tish. I mean,
is it?
They finally decided that the secretary and the sales manager weren't the people to be doing the voiceovers. And they went to professional people like Ben here to create the characters. As the technology of being able to create actual moving characters that change with this, the story, they realized they needed to have professionals do that. Right.
And the story, and I think also the story has become more crucial as to the story is more crucial to the experience than the technology. Yeah, you can look this up if anyone's interested in this. If anyone's interested in this motion capture, performance capture, you need to talk to Richard Dorton at Mocap Vaults, because the Mocap Vaults will teach you all about this stuff, and you can see online like there's progressions from just the simplest of things of like guys looking like Monty Python in tights with ping pong balls around them, and now there's like Ben said, it's a sophisticated. It's like being in a scuba suit with really specific markers all over you, and this headgear that is amazing. And once you get it's like scuba gear, isn't it? Like once you get it, you put it on, you're like, wait, what? How do I breathe in this? But then you just do your thing. So if you have like in-depth questions about any of this, really talk to Richard. Mocap Vaults. Someone else got the other thing. Mocap Vaults. Richard Dorton. We all love each other and support each other because we all share the things that we are good. So there's that. Good. So hopefully that helps. We've got so many questions. Let's keep on moving. Ian asks, what differences, adjustments would you make to your auditions between a commercial VO and video game voice acting? It's a good question.
It is. Ben, do you do a lot of commercial work?
I read for it.
Come to the dojo, Ben. We must talk. You come to the dojo, my friends.
No, I go into the booth as often as I get asked to, and it's always it seems to me the moment you can point to a trend, an industry trend, it's already passed.
That's why you got to be the trend.
At some point they want people that can do sort of Don Pardo stuff, and
that's right,
just natural voices, and then they want this, that, and the other. I will say that when I finished Red Dead, again, while I would say conservatively 90% of my work in that game was done in a volume on a performance capture stage.
Mm-hmm.
So there was maybe 10% in the booth, which was closer to ADR, I think I'd say. I don't know. I mean, it was. We had that headgear too when we were in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm allowed to say that. Maybe I'm not. But I might not. I take it back. But
we could have not. It was
the one thing though that, and I had a friend who did a long stint on. I still have a friend who did a long stint on Gilmore Girls, and when he got off of that show, he had it took a time to recalibrate out of this of that one sort of style.
Interesting.
I have found, as I've sort of been re-entering the world on the other side of this large project, going into the booth and not sounding like, you know, a murderous, half-crazy cowboy.
What's for dinner, Ben?
A little bit of a challenge.
That's incredible. No, I think. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say. I mean, what Ben is talking about is, you know, and the question was really about auditioning for these particular roles. I mean, if you're auditioning, different styles require different types of technique in your booth. If you are indeed auditioning from your booth. And I'm sure that Ben sometimes goes into an agency or is working through his agent and is probably auditioning in his own booth as well. But the techniques are very different because with commercial, you are trying to be as conversational as possible. And the idea of your home voiceover studio is not to make you sound great and amazing and sound like you're on the radio. It's to make you sound like you, as you exist in the environment in which you are recording, which I think is lost on a pile of people who keep thinking that I've got to sound like I'm on the radio. Well, you don't, you know, unless you're on the radio, and that's not the radio. It's not you that makes it sound that way. It's the transmitter and the compression and all the things that go on with radio technology that make it sound that way, and usually pretty lousy. So if you want to make yourself sound lousy, do all those things that these idiots on the internet are saying. Well, you need a DBX 628A, and this is how I sound great. It's great. There's only one problem with all that. You don't hire you. And you trying to decide if you sound good or not is kind of irrelevant. You really need to have somebody who knows specifically what it's supposed to sound like, listen to your audio and help you, instruct you on how to do that. But with video games, of course, and I'm sure Ben will back me up on this, is generally, you're not so close to mic in a video game unless you're doing something fairly intimate. They're going to have the mic way far away from you, like, you know, maybe a foot and a half away, and like here. So, because we don't talk half an inch from people's eardrums, they want to capture you as you exist. So, you know, if you know you're doing a video game sort of thing, and it's like, I'm going to kill you. You don't say that into somebody's ear. You are trying to get it across, sounding like you are actually saying that to somebody at the ear level that they're listening, or at the attitude at which they're listening.
Yeah.
So in video games, if you're going to be talking louder, you can go off mic because it still sounds natural, or you can go off axis, or you can back way off and then not have to play with your levels too much. For normal commercial voiceover, it should be your mic set like this, and you're just reading your copy and doing things and performing your stuff the way you should for a commercial copy, and the same for narration. For auditions, there are some people that say, yeah, you got to drive them so they'll hear you. But as Tish and Ben will tell you, the way to nail an audition is to just be different.
Yeah.
The easiest way, by the way, to be different is to be yourself.
Exactly.
Not be
somebody else. Exactly.
That's true. That's true across the board. It's get out of your own way. Be authentic. Be yourself.
Exactly. Now, this is so fantastic. So there's different perspectives. The thing that I would say about this question is you need to understand the differences between the genres. What is our job as performers of what are we delivering? So the Dojo, as we explore all the genres, because even as voice performers, we need to be able to do as much as we can. We talk about what is the heart. What is the heart of each of the genre? So in the heart of being in a video game is being in the scene. You are there. If I'm in Red Dead Redemption with Ben, it's like I'm there. Dutch is talking to me, right? So, or you are talking to the player. The player's in the room with you. So that is that experience that Dan was just talking about from a technical angle is the experience that we're doing. Now, the heart of commercial, this is a little switch this is the signal at the dojo for switching, semantic switch. Serving versus selling, right? We're here to serve. How can I help you? How can I help you? I'm telling you about this thing. And this is really interesting, Ben, because I've done some video games, some performance capture, but my bread and butter is big commercial campaigns. So it's really great to get these perspectives. But as performers, we need to understand what is our job doing each of these, and then we can inform how to adjust our performances and how to adjust our auditions. Also a whole nother Ask the Sensei discussion of what is the difference between doing a performance and doing a session and doing an audition. So, oh my gosh, we're going to have part 2. This is awesome. Great questions, guys, and really, really cool answers. Jason Vanderbrake. Jason Vanderbrake is like one of the founding members of the VO Dojo. So like every time, yes, Jason Vanderbrake. Be like Jason Vanderbrake. Jason's question is, Benjamin, what was the process like creating the role of Dutch? How is it similar or different to creating a role in a play or film? I guess we kind of touched on that, but I'd love to maybe, talking about creating Dutch specifically, right? How did you go to...
I'd love to. I'm tickled to answer that question. That's a fun question. Jason, I hear nice things about you. The Dutch was, it goes back, actually, you're gonna, Tish, you know Joe Freya, of course.
Yeah. Oh, the short that he posted the other day.
2005.
So good. Wow.
Dragged me out to Arizona to do a short film where I played a character that he wrote called the Osborne Crawl, a short film called Black Eyed Sue. And I developed this character then, who was this sort of dumb, strong cowboy who had this voice that was filled with, cracks. A cracky, creaky voice that it took me about 5 days to land on when I finally got it. And then I just had this character in my back pocket. And I think 3 years after that, I got called in for an untitled video game, cowboy video game project. It was casting out of Kathy Knowles Casting in Santa Monica.
Wow, that's cool.
And it was, the perfect, for somebody who lives in Hollywood, 4:30 on the West Side, great, that's a perfect time for a freaking audition. And I dragged myself out there, and I went into a room and had this copy that, for those that know the first Red Dead, I think it was Bonnie McFarlane's, Drew McFarlane, a monologue of Drew McFarlane's, and I read it using this voice that I created for Black Eyed Sue with this very sort of heavy art coloring and these wispy sort of breaks to it. And I got to the end of the audition, and she looked at me and she said, "I know we've got something for you for sure." And then I didn't, because it's Rockstar, I didn't hear anything for 4 months or 5 months, and then I'm booked on this thing. The whole time I was doing the first game, I didn't know. I hoped that he was who I thought he was, but I didn't have the full script. All I knew about him was that he was a gang leader who'd gone insane, was extremely well read, and that was what I knew. And then the rest of it was just learning how to act with a helmet on your head and learning, our genius director, Rod Edge, was sort of teaching me about, and this is probably a mocap vault suggestion as well, but the sort of motion that that works well on the volume, and I learned all of those things, and then that was Dutch, and then he was gone. But I think, returning to Jason's question in terms of similar to or different from a role in a play or a film, it's similar to a role in a play in that you have to fall in love with it to do it. And, but it's unlike anything in the fact that you're working for 5 years. And for me, I was also returning to a character I'd already played. So I had a big concern about whether or not the voice was going to match from the original to when I returned years later.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one really lucky thing for me as a human being, but I think also for playing in a prequel, is after Red Dead, I quit smoking.
Whoa.
So I think that you can hear I think that the younger version, even though I'm an older version of me, it's a younger version of Dutch, and I like to think that helped. But it's also interesting. I mean, if you listen to it, you can tell there's some scenes in Red Dead 2 where I still hadn't quite found my way back to the character. So I think, Jason, I think the biggest difference is that you are intensely devoted to the work, and then you're on hiatus for, you don't know if it's going to be 3 months, you don't know if it's going to be 3 weeks, you don't know how long, you don't know when you're going back.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep that ball in the air of this guy over all those years was a wonderful, delicious challenge, but it was a challenge.
It's a whole nother dimension. Like we think about a run of a show. My friend Scott Makita has been in Phantom of the Opera for like 17 years. So it's like, wow, but he does something different every night. But yeah, so it's how do we maintain that stamina and that consistency? So it's really taking from all of the art forms, isn't it? Because you were just talking about how do you calibrate and sustain your vocal performance. Wow, oh, so cool.
Although going back to that question earlier about music, there was a song I had to learn, a period song I had to learn for Joe Fria's film. I should say Joe Ben-Simonetti and Peter Alton's film. But,
yes. We'll give them credits too.
There was a song I learned for it, and that song was actually how I would keep the dialect on model over time. Is I would go and I would sing that song on the way in, because it would hit all of the kind of the R's that I needed, to help me stay on model.
Yeah, that's good questions, good answers, guys. This is great. Wow. Anonymous attendee asks, I get tons of gaming auditions that call exclusively for characters aged in their 20s and their early 30s. I've always had a voice that is more mature. Do either of you see any trend towards including more mature characters in gaming, or who is producing games for a more mature market? Well, I think in some ways this is an interesting dilemma. And as a human who's getting on the older side, and seeing the generations come and go, I personally think this is for everything, that in some ways, the people who are making the stuff are getting younger, but the people who are buying the stuff are getting older. So there's enough older people that are, and I think also, like personally, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is a perfect example of that. Like I know more grown-ups that are like, oh, dude, it's not Mario Kart. It's sophisticated, interesting, deep, profound storytelling that my 12-year-old is enjoying. I don't know if that's good mom or bad mom. Probably bad mom, but made them wait for GTA 5. But anyway, so that's my opinion. And I think as whatever your age is and whatever your vocal print is, it goes back to you got to be you. And and if you can find your range, that's great. I just booked a campaign yesterday. They're like, wow, you have a lot of range. I'm like, I know, thanks. So find all of the instruments in your orchestra, and do what you can. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I just reemphasize: don't focus on what you're not. Don't concern yourself with things that are beyond your control. I coach actors for auditions, and they'll go, "I think I'm too old for this." And I'm like, "It's not up to you. You are you," which is also, by the way, not up to you.
To a certain extent, yeah.
You have to be who you are, and that's there's a great expression: you get 100% of the parts that are yours. And I like that. I think there's something freeing to it. So as opposed to thinking, well, what do I have to do to fit in? There's a casting director named Felicia Fasano, who is a wonderful, wonderful person. And I adore Felicia. And I saw her out on the town one night, and I said, Felicia, I just want to thank you so much, because she'd hired me several times for it. It wasn't big guy number 2. It wasn't scary Russian guy. It wasn't it was just like I was a doctor or I was a lottery winner. And I said, thank you so much for not casting me as big guys. And she says, what are you talking about? And I said, you don't cast me as big guys. You just call me in to play guys. She says, Ben, whoever casts you you are a big guy. It doesn't matter what you cast as. It's not going to change who you are, and embrace who you are. Don't shy away from it. And that would be that's the only thing I'd add to the.
And you know, one thing that comes to my mind. This is something that has been. I said this out loud at a workshop that I taught in New York last month. And as I said, I was like, whoa, that's it. And the ripple around the room was amazing. In all of this casting process, if you can find the way to think that there is no they, there's only we. There's only we. So when you step into that audition, you become we. We are eating lunch, and my part of the job is doing the audition. But if you notice how both Ben and I talk about being a part of this process with Rockstar, I've done a couple, a little bit. I'm not a Rockstar star like Ben is, but I'm part of the team. So if you can come to every audition, everything that you do with the spirit of the theater, right? What are we making today? And how can I be of service to that? Then it's fun. Then it's good. It's all good. There's no separation.
There's some great philosophies around that. One of them I hear is you're not, when you go in for an audition or do an audition, you're not getting the freaking job.
Mm-hmm.
You are there to serve the people you are auditioning for. You want to give them everything. So if you're auditioning for an Arthur Miller play, you're not going to get the job, but for 3 minutes you can be in an Arthur Miller play and show them what you can do. And by being you and showing them what you can do, that generally goes a long way, to helping you, land that type of an audition. But it takes study and practice, and a lot of it's up here.
Yeah.
And as far as being old, I find most of the kids, some of the people that are hiring talent these days thought I was, look at my age and figure I was dead 10 years ago. So, I think as the population continues to age, that it may actually get better for us older folks.
Yeah. And also, that's the gorgeous thing about voiceover. So I love working at the dojo, because we have people that are still in school, that, people who haven't graduated from college yet, and people who are in their 70s, and you can do it. It can serve you every place that you are in your thing. So yeah, release those myths. Ian and Dave, you are asking good questions, but I'm going to have other people's questions. Rebecca Knowles, one of our other lovely team members here. Did the voice for Dutch evolve at all from the initial audition to the booking recording? And once you find a character... Oh, we kind of talked about this. I'm sorry, I should have read the question. You feel like we covered that?
Yeah, Rebecca, I think I gave the answer, not knowing. That's a great question, but I think I did.
Yeah. Okay. Good question.
But it's a challenge, and it requires focus. You got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, and then
really lucky thing I got to say, and this is just to the credit of Rod, the director, and Laszlo, and everybody in the booth, and just the magicians at Rockstar. They are so willing to collaborate and behave in a collaborative manner, and it goes so far as to I would be in the booth late in the making of the game, and I would hear a line that was recorded maybe 3 years ago, and some of these scenes, because of the way the tech works, include performances that are stayed together over 3 years of work. But I would hear, that's I went a little bit southern with that line. It doesn't quite sound like Dutch. And I would say, could we go back and change that? And they would say, absolutely. So everybody there is so invested in what the artists working for them are doing. and doing everything they can to support that work. It really is. I highly recommend working for Rockstar.
And then, and I do too. So I think the other thing inherent in that question, and this is also where when we take all of our work as performers down to just the voice, there's always this relationship between the technical and the organic. So we all have to be as fine-tuned as we can to understand the nuance within the nuance within the nuance within the nuance of both the organic and the technical, right? So Ben didn't say, oh, I didn't feel like Dutch in that one. He said, oh, hold on a second. I was technically able to hear that had a little Southern twang. I am going to instantaneously make the adjustment to take that out. That's technical, right? And we all need to be able to hear it and adjust it, and the finer level of nuance that we can do that with, that's where the dimensionality of our performances come, and that's where we become invaluable, right? Because if someone else didn't catch that, we just did. One of the amazing people on the Dojo team, in addition to Dan, is Faith Rumer, who is I can't even list all of her hyphenates, but she's a vocal coach, a singing coach, a musician-songwriter, a speech pathologist, and a dialect specialist. So she is on our team as like one-stop shop, as we say in English. Yes, but it's great to have Faith in the room, because we'll be able to she'll be able to explain something. Just a quick little segue. We just finished our belt level test at the end of our full training program called From Mystery to Mastery. We divide the natural progression from I don't know to working pro into belt levels, and we finish each one with a test, a demonstration, like at a martial arts dojo. And one of the questions for the blue belt levels, the more advanced levels, is voice match someone who's another blue belt. And it was so cool because you need to have your essence, and then you need to capture somebody else's essence, and then you need to figure out what's happening technically to do that. It was actually Rebecca just did that test. So technical and organic. All right.
I'm listening to you guys.
Here's Faith. Look, it's Faith. The hyphen. Anyway, that's Faith. Yay. Yeah. Do you want to come join us?
I do.
Awesome. Yeah. Let me just see. Let's scroll down and see if there's any other tech questions that Dan can cover. It's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Well, look, here's Faith.
Yeah. There was one question. There was one question about preamps that Mara asked. Which,
okay. Can you answer that quick before you go? You already got an answer?
Well, I answered it for her, but I think it's a good general question. A lot of people are asking. People ask about preamps. And generally, keep things incredibly simple. If you don't know what something does, don't use it. There are a lot of people who like to push these big, expensive preamps that are going to be more expensive than all of the other stuff combined, and they don't do anything to improve your performance. What you really want is a very simple digital interface preamp, like a Focusrite Scarlett Solo or a 2i2. Something like that there. The second generation of those are real. They're inexpensive. They work great. I wouldn't suggest a USB mic except for practicing. And so if someone suggests that you need an Avalon or a Grace 101 preamp, they do not know what they are talking about, because you are in your closet or in a booth somewhere. Mm-hmm. I had somebody from New York I was talking to the other day, and they're like, should I get an Avalon one of these? It gets kind of noisy at rush hour. I said, you think it's noisy in your apartment now? If you get an Avalon tube amplifier, chances are you're going to actually hear what the cab drivers are saying to each other out in the street. So you don't need that sensitivity on a mic. You just need a good mic over $250, $200. And a reasonable digital interface, and that's all you'll probably ever need.
Unless you're doing something else that those things are for, right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Good. And that's what I love about having Dan on this team, because he's like, dude, what's the job? Get it done in the most efficient, effective, economical way. Get it done. So That's brilliant. All right, so let's keep on going. And Dan, can you let people know how to touch base with you in case you need to hop off?
Oh, absolutely. You can find me over at homevoiceoverstudio.com. And if you want to have fun on a Monday or anytime,
or anytime,
at vobs.tv, you can watch Voiceover Body Shop, where George Whittam and I talk to the big people in the voiceover business, and we talk about how to create home voiceover studios and all the technology that goes into it. And mostly it ends up being, you don't need this.
Awesome. All right. Well, if you need to roll, thanks so much. We'll see you next month. And all right, let's keep on going. Clayton Brown.
Thanks, Tish. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ben. Take care.
This is interesting, and maybe Faith, you can join in on this. Clayton says, I've heard VO for video games is quite a lot of yelling. From all the games I've played and continue to play, it seems to be true. What is your advice for negotiating yelling during long sessions? Actually, come, Faith, come add to this. Can you hear, or can you guys hear Faith?
Probably not, because she has her headphones on.
Well, I'm just talking though.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear Faith?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I hear her.
Okay.
Good. What's the question?
How do you take care of your voice for yelling in long sessions?
Okay. So first of all, you really need to make sure that you have good support and good breath technique, because that's what's going to save you. If you feel like you're going to be pushing air too much against your throat, like people tend to like shout. So there's difference between yelling and shouting. Shouting is that pushing the air against your throat, and yelling is dropping down into your body and pushing it. So if you see if you can find the difference between shouting and yelling, and perfect the yelling instead of the shouting. And that would be your first step to that.
Damn. Wow. Yeah. Done. How about that?
A good solid warm-up too is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, knowing your instrument, knowing where you're, knowing your instrument, and then also knowing your limitations and taking care of yourself during a session. Because we all want to be like, I can do it. And you get in the moment. I did a game last month, maybe a couple months ago, and you don't know what you're coming into when you go into a session. Literally, you have like Ben said, cowboy guy reads books and is crazy. Like, that's it. So I came in and had 3 roles, and you don't know which one's big, you don't know which one's little. So one was like a bayou lady sitting on the rocking chair there. Then one was another just sort of distressed general person. And then the other one was like this biker chick whose tagline was like, pig fucker, right? And it's like, and she shouted a lot, it's like, but you don't know what it is. So it's really, you have to calibrate, you have to bring it always, but also take super good care. And that goes back to knowing your instrument, knowing the technical, knowing the organic, right? So many layers here. Awesome. Now I feel like I'm in a suspense movie. How do we get all this done? Let's see. This is an interesting one. Christy. Hey, Christy. What is the audition process for Red Dead? I don't know if you kind of covered it. Did you have multiple callbacks? Was it, and you said it was with Kathy. And when did you go?
Kathy wasn't there. It was with a producer from Rockstar. Rockstar now, I think they're casting. The other thing is, I wouldn't have booked Dutch unless they were doing Red Dead in California, which they were, because it was centered at Rockstar San Diego. But when we did the Red Dead 2, was in New York, so it turned my life into a lot of commuting. There was no audition because I had already done the role. But I watched a lot of other actors go through that process, and because Rockstar employs so many people. And the nature of the work is you don't really know when the audition process is over, because you could even be hired and be working, and they're still evaluating whether or not this character, they don't even know what the character is sometimes, I think kind of like with Dutch, like I think he developed a little bit around what I was doing, as much as Dan Houser and Michael Unsworth and all the great writers. I think Alex McKenna's work as Sadie Adler, I think that also kind of happened, that the role can get beefed up based on an individual actor's work. So it might be an ominous answer to say that you're always kind of auditioning. But
that's it. But you're also always developing the character for them or with them, not with.
Absolutely.
Wait, there is no them. You're always developing the character together, right? Yeah.
That's ensemble work completely.
Yeah. Good question. Red Dead Redemption 2 took a long time. Did you ever make choices for how the character might act or respond? And that, this is an interesting question. Then later regret those choices or feel trapped by them. This is Dutch's therapist now. How did you deal with the evolution of your character over such a long period of time? We kind of touched a little bit about that, but
yeah, that's
in a nutshell.
It's a great question because it is because of the technology. You're performing. I said this in an interview, and I am fond of it, so I'm going to repeat it. It's like you're acting in a painting while it's being painted.
Whoa! Write that down, people. That's amazing. Whoa!
So they know the story that they're telling. They know how they want to tell it, but they don't quite know what works and what doesn't work. And there was big questions with Dutch in terms of his descent into madness. How mad did he go? There were lots of moving pieces. So you do your best to make choices that are authentic for what's in front of you, and you trust it's going to line up. But the other thing that you do is you trust the collaborators that you're working with, and that they'll catch it, they'll make sense of it. But we went through lots of tonal shifts with Dutch about whether or not did he lead the gang because he was such a scary guy nobody wanted to cross him, or did he lead the gang because he was such an inspiring guy that everybody wanted to follow him? And those sorts of questions are dynamic through the process because you're figuring it out. And I do think that there is something to, I think that the more you act in film, or the more the work that you do is touched by editors, which acting in film is touched by editors, voice work is touched by editors. Once you sort of start to see that you're not necessarily the only person telling that story, you start to trust beyond just what you're doing. And so you start to just make sure you're always being truthful. You're always being present and authentic. But you also have to trust. If you think about your favorite movie monologues, I guarantee you that most of them have an edit in them. So we will often, as an actor in training, look at some great performance and we'll think to ourselves, oh my God, that person's a genius. And not realize that the genius we're seeing is part of take 4, part of take 10, part of take 12, and then part of reshoots from 3 months later. And so you recognize that you're always kind of having to let go of your choices, and you always kind of have to not be too precious about any of it, because it's going to change. It may well change over time.
Yeah. We've got to wrap it up, but I'm going to go through and do my best to answer all of these. Ben, you have to come back. This is awesome. So we'll create something of that. So wrapping up, want to let you know that this happens the first Wednesday of every month. There are some freaking exciting things that Dojo is doing. If you're in New York area, we have our first live VO Dojo Pro Fight Club, which is a working pro workout, brings together top-notch talent and the decision makers who hire us. So look at the website. Go to the website, www.thevodojo.com. You can sign up for that, and then save the date if you're in LA for April 19th, because we are expanding our live fight club format here, and it's going to be an even more community-based, amazing night. Ben, I want to talk to you about coming. So those are two things. Check out the website. if you want more time with me on the website, there's a place that you can sign up for a voiceover once-over call, free 15 minutes. I'm going to take a couple of minutes and see what other questions I can answer after we're done here. Ben, you said that you are available to work with actors. How would they touch base with you?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. You can find me, DM me on Twitter. I'm at Tooda, Tooda, long story. Or you can also try, Instagram's a little more crowded. But if you go to my Instagram now, I just learned how to turn it into a business account. So there's an email button on that, and that'll send you to an email server that I will check. So you can go find me on Instagram at Big Ben Davis, BigbenDavis.
Yeah.
Instagram and contact me there. But I teach a scene study class in Hollywood weekly, and I coach actors for audition prep.
Sweet. Awesome. Ben, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your extra time. Thank you, everybody. Talk about Rockstars. This is so cool. This recording will be available. If you know somebody who should watch it, tell them to sign up because we'll send them the recording. And
apologize for the first 10 minutes of the
set. Thank God our tech guy was here. So love to you all. Look forward to seeing your Dojo O's. Mine is be you, man. Awesome. Well, to more, and to understanding the power of what happens when we all come together to do this work together. All right, rock on, everybody. We will see you soon.
Thanks,
Ben.
Thank you so much, everybody. And thanks for having me.